Matt, kind of a two-parter on Z. Did he come out of earlier this week well enough to practice today? And what do you need to see from him to make you feel comfortable that he can go on Sunday?
Yeah, Z's doing better. He'll be out there today in a limited capacity, but I think we'll give him the week, and obviously we want to make sure that he continues to put back-to-back days together and comes out healthy and is feeling good.
Did you guys pick captains?
We voted for captains this morning.
Okay. Do you have results?
Do not. And I'm not going to share them with you guys first, sorry.
I guess I can understand that.
Matt, what do you see as, having played the Saints last year, what do you see as the biggest difference in their offense with Jameis Winston taking over at quarterback and coaching for
Well, first of all, that's a really talented group, and also got so much respect for Sean Payton and his staff, what they've been able to accomplish over the years. I'm certain there's going to be some differences. The biggest difference in my eyes is Jameis has a big-time arm, and he can push the ball down the field. So I'm sure there's going to be more passes down the field, and then you don't know what to account for in terms of how much they'll play Taysom Hill at quarterback. So there's a lot of unknowns, but I think that's, anytime you're going up against a good group and creative coaches, that's kind of always the case.
Man, I think the Saints have more undrafted players on their roster than anybody in the league right now. And so with a lot of those new faces, that make it even more difficult to scout a team and look for tendencies, those kind of things?
Well, I think it's just the case early in the season anyways. I mean, there's going to be a lot of unscouted looks on both sides of the ball probably. And you just got to trust your rules. You got to, and people got to communicate. That's going to be a big thing, and really in all three phases. The communication is going to have to be on point in order to get on the same page. And then from there, you just got to kind of trust your rules.
They've made some changes to their defensive line. What do you see in their D line, and what kind of test will that give your offensive line?
Well, their defensive line is, first of all, their entire defense is one of the more tenacious, relentless defenses in the league. I mean, they are going hard every play, and they do such a great job of attacking the football. Up front, they're just relentless. Whether it's a drop back pass, whether it's in the run game, they do a good job of setting edges, or in the screen game. They're one of the best at running out of what we call the stack and chasing down screens. So we know it's going to be a great challenge. There's a lot of good players on that defense. Everybody obviously knows 94, 92. I mean, those are two of the best in the business.
Alvin Kamara is so great at breaking tackles. How much have you showed last year's film against them as a reminder to guys about what you can do if you don't make sure you get him on the ground?
Yeah, our guys understand what type of player Alvin is. He's one of the premier backs in the National Football League, and what makes him so special is his ability not only in the run game but as a receiver or out of the backfield as well. And so we showed him some clips today. Again, we're going to have to be relentless on defense because this guy is very strong. He's got great vision. He's got the ability to put his foot in the ground and get vertical, and we're going to have to gang tackle. He's going to make some guys miss. There's no doubt about it. That's what he's done his entire career, and I'm sure it won't change Sunday. However, what we need to do is just ensure that we have more than one guy at the point of attack.
Matt, how have you seen the relationship and chemistry between Josh Myers and Aaron Rodgers grow in this preseason training camp, and what's your confidence level with those two heading out this first game?
Yeah, I mean, certainly we've got a lot of confidence. Otherwise, Josh wouldn't be out there. But, just like any relationship, it takes time, and there's going to be some learning moments that are going to happen naturally. But we just got to make sure that we do learn from them and can't make the same mistakes twice.
Matt, how do you feel about this team going into this season compared to your first two teams, which turned out to be pretty good teams, obviously?
I try not to I try to take it one day at a time with the group, but I'll tell you, the one thing that you love about this group is just the way they come to work each and every day, the energy, the attitude. I feel like they're putting in the work, but again, it's a new season, so every year you hit the reset button, and you gotta go out there and do it, and you gotta prove it.
You've had 2 openers as head coach, both on the road, both wins. From your experiences last 2 years, how big has it been, do you think, to get off to a fast start on the right foot, especially in a road contest?
Are you trying to jinx us, Dave? No, I think it's always important. You want to start out fast, and we know that every game in this league is so valuable. So you never want to waste an opportunity, and every time you go out there, and you know, is an opportunity to come out on top. But you got to put the work in. You got to have a great week of prep. Our guys are going to have to do a unbelievable job of taking care of their bodies, of hydrating, so that we can go out there and play for 4 quarters, because it is going to be, there's no doubt, it's going to be a tough physical football game for 4 quarters long, and some elements that it's hard to replicate.
What would you tell your guys to push heading into a week like this?
I wouldn't say there's a set amount, but certainly, every time they pee, you want it to look clear.
You talk about how it's tough to replicate, but what have y'all done this week, or what are you doing this week to try to get as prepared as possible for the Jacksonville Heat?
Well, I think it's impossible to. I mean, luckily, it was a pretty humid preseason, but it's just, you can't replicate those conditions up here. So there's nothing that we necessarily can do. I guess we could go indoors and crank up the heat if we wanted to, but I don't want our guys practicing on turf all week long. So I think it's important that we get outside, we get out on the grass, and guys are just going to have to, be disciplined and diligent and take care of their bodies the right way.
You're not going to go early, though. You're still going to go Saturday.
Yeah, we're going to go Saturday.
On one hand, you've got Devontae at true number 1. On the other, you've got probably more experience, and especially on production in that receiver room behind him, than you've had in some time. Do you feel like the passing game will be more spaced out as a whole this season, or do you just got to force it to your guy since he's Devontae?
You're saying spread out in terms of the touches? Yeah, I mean, like, ultimately, I think everybody knows what Tay can do. We have a lot of confidence in those other guys as well, and certainly last year we played the Saints without Devontae. So I think every week, it could go multiple different people, and teams got to decide on how they want to defend us. Are they going to try to leave Tay one-on-one, or are they going to double him, and that opens up other people? But certainly I think that's one of the things that you go into every game, and you got to have different ways to try to move the ball, but also to try to get everybody involved. And certainly we got a lot of confidence in everybody, all the skill positions on our offense, and it's always a challenge, which is a good challenge, to try to get everybody involved in the game.
Is there more confidence in those guys behind Devontae than a year ago with what they were able to put on the field last year and the camp that some of those guys have had? Yeah,
I think those guys have all matured really well. Marquez, he left the season on a really high note, and he's been really productive throughout preseason. I think Allen's been really consistent, and he does he fulfills a lot of different roles. You've got Randall Cobb now, another experienced veteran that has produced at a really high level for a long time in this league. And then, we got the young guy, Amari, as well, and another guy we'd like to get the ball in his hands. And then Malik's done a nice job. He's had an outstanding preseason. And so there's a lot of weapons there. And then you look at our tight end group, and with, Bobby Tunyon coming off the season he had, Sadie's, even though we don't necessarily feature him in the pass game, he always makes the most of his opportunities. And then you got DeGuara and Daphne, and now I haven't even talked about our running backs. So there's a lot of guys that we have a lot of confidence in on the offensive side of the ball.
Now, what kind of test is Harris right out of the gate, for special teams and just kind of what he offers in, both the kickoff and punts?
Yeah, Deontay Harris is one of the premier returners in the league, and showed a couple clips this morning, just his ability where it looks like it's going to be a sure tackle, and he's able to get out of it, and he's got legit speed down the field. So we're going to have to do a very good job with our placement, whether it's on kickoffs or punts, and then we have to, bust our butt downfield and cover and stay, have great lane integrity.
Matt, you mentioned a ton of times to us that most NFL games come down to one or two plays. With that in mind and your success in the red zone last year, how do you treat that? That's a historically good number. Is this something you try to replicate? Is it even possible with more noise and fans in the stands to replicate that, you think?
Yeah, Dave, we're always trying to score when we get down in the red zone. So, yeah, I don't even know how to answer that. But, yeah, we're doing everything we can to try to confuse the defense and score every chance we get.
I guess how integral do you feel that was to the results you had, wins and losses last year?
You're talking about no
The red
fans?
zone success,
Yeah, I'm sure that had something to do with it. Certainly when you go on the road and you don't have to deal with crowd noise, it definitely makes it easier on offenses. But that was the same for every team in the league last year.
Matt, after talking about peak colors, I don't know if you can give me shit about asking a quarterback question, but I'm gonna.
You say that in here, Jason?
I'm sure they'll edit that for me. But where do you think Rodgers is at after the camp he had? What kind of camp did you think he had? And where do you think he is with everything that happened this offseason, the uncertainty of the future? He seems to be legitimately committed to living in the present.
Oh, absolutely. He's done an outstanding job, and he's been a great leader. And I think he's playing at a really high level, but that's in practice. So ultimately, all of us, all 11 on the field, have to go out there and do it collectively. And you never want to rest on past merits, which I know he doesn't. He definitely put the work in, but I think he's in a really good headspace, and I think he's got the right mentality, the right mindset. He's been excited to come to work, and I think he's done a really good job of leading a lot of those younger players and trying to get them up to speed as fast as possible.
You mentioned Bobby turning them in ago. At this point last year, did you know what you had there? Because, his first few years he hadn't done much. Some of that was injury related, obviously, but did you have a pretty good handle at this time last year, or what did you learn about him as the season progressed?
Yeah, he is a guy that has, I think I've said it before, who's really probably grown as much as anybody that we've had, and really in every aspect of the game. But just he's a guy that is consistently making catches out there at practice that are quite difficult, and he makes it look easy. So I'm really happy with his progress, and I still think there's another level for him out there, and he's going to continue to work at it. But I just think Bobby approaches it with the right mentality, and he certainly puts the work in, and I think that's why you see the results. They're a byproduct of all the hard work he's put in.
Change directions with your defense. You've got the foundation laid down with what Joe's installed. What are your expectations taking it now?
Yeah, the expectation is that guys are going to go out, and whether we play 60 plays or 100 plays, and they're going to give great effort on every single play, and they're going to be flying around, and we're going to try to take the football away. So that is the expectation. Certainly, we have a really good challenge ahead of us with the Saints. That's one of the best offensive lines in football. They got premier players at running back, at receiver, and I just think that it's going to be a good challenge for us, a good first test.
We talked about your Marquez MVS a lot. What have you thought of some of the catches that Marquez Callaway has put on film for the Saints, especially in the preseason this year?
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular. They're talking about the 2 plays he made in the Jacksonville game were as good as it gets in this league.
Let's go to Zoom.
I have just one in here, Aaron Nagler.
Coach, you mentioned the other day that you've been working on the Saints for a couple weeks now. Has the change in venue altered any of your offensive plans, or do you have to stick with what you've been working on so far?
Yeah, I don't necessarily think it alters. It might alter our process dependent upon how loud it is in Jacksonville. Certainly, every time you go into New Orleans, you know it's going to be rocking, and you know you're going to have to use the silent count on, especially in those critical situations, whether it's third down, whether it's in the red zone, whether it's in 2 minutes. So it might change our approach in that regard, but in terms of how we want to attack these guys, it really hasn't altered it much.